Hello, I'm Umbra,
And I'm Melodious.
and this is It's Locked. About 10 years ago, I was recently divorced and living alone in a one-bedroom apartment. The place was clean and the rent was decent. One of those places had a doorman. I felt safe here. I was alone and loving it, focused on my career and not my clingy ex-husband. Things were finally looking up for me. At the time, I was working pretty late at the office and would often stumble into my apartment, sleep-deprived, in the early hours of the morning and wake by 6:30, 7ish to start the day. I started noticing that in the morning, my door would be unlocked sometimes. I usually dismissed this as my sleep-dead brain thinking that the bed looked more appealing than locking the door. Another thing that I noticed since moving was that I seemed to be misplacing things more than I used to. Little things like a hairbrush or nail polish, that sort of thing. It wasn't really a big deal, just enough to be a slight annoyance in my day. The longer I lived here, the more frequently I seemed to forget to lock the door. At first, it was once in a while. Then it seemed like an almost daily occurrence. More things went missing, like pictures, shaving razors, and, most disturbingly, my underwear. This went on for long enough that I started to get a little paranoid. I started to take the time at night to make sure the door was locked. I got into a habit of every night, after I locked the door, to turn the handle 3 times and say to myself, "It's locked, it's locked, it's locked." Time after time, I would wake up and the door would be unlocked. One time I even tried staying up all night to watch the door, but I ended up falling asleep on my chair. I decided that my mind was not reliable enough to stay up all night. So I invested in a video camera. I went all out and bought the fanciest camera that I could get my hands on. So one night, I set the camera up facing the door. I hid the camera under a pile of towels on the floor. I locked the door and went to bed. When I woke up, my apartment looked normal. Nothing missing that I could see. I decided to check the tape. I fast-forwarded through hours of footage, not seeing anything. I was just about to give up when I noticed the handle of the door jitter. Then it slowly crept open. A figure slid through the half-open door and walked towards the camera. It paused, looked around as if it was listening for something, then walked forward directly in view of the camera. I paused the camera. The hairs on my arms and the back of my neck started to rise. I was staring directly into the face of the maintenance man of the building. I could see those thick glasses and curly hair. I had no doubt who it was. I played the tape a little more. He looked comfortable as he walked around the apartment. Then he turned and walked towards my bedroom and out of view of the camera. I didn't know what to do. Sobbing, I called the police. I tried to explain over the phone, but couldn't. Soon enough, 2 officers arrived at my doorstep. I told them everything and showed them the tape. I remember seeing the blood drain from their faces. They promised me that I was safe and that they were going to get this guy. I needed to lay down, but didn't want to be alone. One of the officers offered to stand outside my apartment door as I took a nap. As I was laying in bed, unable to sleep but too drained to move, something kept nagging at me. I laid there for a few minutes, tossing and turning, unable to get comfortable or rest. My mind was racing. Then a realization slowly washed over me and chilled me to the bone. We watched the tape and saw the man enter my home, but we never saw him leave. I froze, then started shaking. I needed to get to the front door. I sat up and looked around the room. I couldn't see anyone. I swung my legs over the side of the bed cautiously. My feet hit the cold wood floor and I felt warm breath on my ankles. I raced out of my apartment as fast as I could into the safety of the police officer. He called for backup. They found the man under my bed, clutching a knife and a Polaroid camera. To this day, I cannot sleep alone.
So, I know personally, I really like that one. That's probably actually one of my favorite creepypastas that I've read. Mostly because it really gets the creepy part down. Because that shit is something that could just legit happen. And that's kind of scary.
And again, it also does well that, aside from taking a few things, up until that point, the man hadn't done anything. It wasn't him breaking into the apartment every day and then, like, messing with her physically.
Yeah. It's like there's a slow, just kind of steady build-up in how often he shows up there and how often, or, like, just what kind of stuff gets taken.
Yeah, it's a really it's really realistic in that function that this guy who has this way of breaking into the apartment would slowly become more aggressive in the things he does.
Yeah.
And something I want to touch on is this one also works so well because it's very well written. There are very few grammatical errors. There's a few 2's that should have more than one O. Very small things that would have helped if someone had skimmed back through it before posting it. But it's well written. There are very few grammatical errors, which sometimes that's what really breaks a creepypasta, is that someone just didn't proofread it enough.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see something that's well written, that they've obviously gone back through and checked it to be sure that there are no major mistakes. It touches on, again, the thing we like, which is it's a slow build-up with a very nice payoff, where it isn't just the thing, the scary-looking thing with too many eyes or a too large mouth with pointy little teeth or is scritching at your window. It's not that. It's very human. It's that one guy who works in your building who has an obsession with you.
Yeah. It's like, I know when I first read this, I actually thought that was kind of the direction it was going to go, was it was going to be like, oh, it's like a ghost or a monster or something, and yeah, it's going to be like hiding in a room or something. But then it turns out that it's like, no, it's like the maintenance guy for the building who has keys to the building because, yeah, he's the maintenance guy. That's like a thing that can actually happen, and that helps, I think, add to the creepiness factor of it.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's about all we have for this one.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching.
If you have any other ones you'd like us to look at or anything you personally want to say about this one, feel free to leave a comment below. Thank you all for joining us.
Yep. See you next time.